and
If
whatnot.
real quick, Gons, with the prophecy forum and my question, if you get a chance to and you think about it and could let me know what kind of a travel fund budget we would need, kind of shoot that over to us and we'll start turning our gears on it for a future time.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great. And let me get through this first one, 'cause there's just
Yeah.
so many things happening with the first one that I, I've I've learned that organizing a conference is not easy, and all the help I can get would be great. Because man, this is like I said, I'm terrible at marketing. I'm
Me
trying
too.
to be an organizer. I'm trying to contact all the speakers, get them on the same page with stuff. I still don't know what L.A. Marzulli's. I don't know what his topics are. I've asked him like 3 times, and I know he was in Peru for a while, so it's like I'm giving him a break. But I was like, hey, what's the title of your talk? And he's like, I just got back from Peru. And I'm like I know, but I got to put it on the website, and it just says random stuff right now, and I don't want it to be inaccurate. And so it takes a lot of help, and it's been a blessing. It's been a big learning experience. But man, I think a conference in DC is much needed, and it would be a great time to get some of these like-minded people together, and just fellowship. That's the big thing. We want to fellowship and get into the Word, and because that's what church is all about. It's supposed to be about, is just to get together and fellowship and break bread and do all the things that our Lord has blessed us with.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah, that's something we're definitely interested in being a part of. We'd really like to bring it out here and do something with that. I don't know.
Down the road a little ways, get
Yeah.
us established and get you through your first conference and
Sure.
all that.
Absolutely.
I can't do it March. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, that'd be tough for me too. March would be a little rough.
Well, so real quick on I just wanted to say a couple random things here, but going back to, we were talking about the music earlier.
Sure.
And your history with Thrice here. I was also a Thrice fan. I have many of their albums. I think the only one I don't own is that Vihisu, that island release that they had.
Right.
However you pronounce that one, with Music Box on it and all that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was a huge fan of Vagrant Records, out of Santa Monica. One of my friend's bands, Dr. Manhattan, had signed to Vagrant for their first full length. We ended up doing a split 7-inch with Dr. Manhattan, my band Dorm Life, back in a few years ago. But anyway, when they were signed to Vagrant, Thrice had just signed to Vagrant to do the Alchemy Index volumes. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, that was interesting. And Dustin Kensrue, the singer of Thrice, he's a Christian. I mean, he's an outspoken Christian. He just put out a worship album. And,
really?
Yeah. And he's the lead worship pastor at Mars Hill with Mark Driscoll.
Really?
Up there in
What?
Seattle. Yeah. He's if you read his lyrics from like The Illusion of Safety and Artist in the Ambulance and stuff, he hints it in there. I mean, it's definitely in there. So he's a Christian, which is really cool. And I've tried to reach out to him, and we're trying to, Canary Cry Radio, we've been trying to put together this worship episode, like worship music episode, for like a year.
Yeah.
And it's just super hard to get all the people that we want to get on that show.
You just made Sam very excited.
Yeah, so definitely check out his worship stuff. It's really good. But yeah, the Alchemy Index, and it's funny because I realized like after the fact that I was researching alchemy, like, oh yeah, Thrice put out an album, and I think like the first part was like water and sky or something, and then air and fire or something like that.
I have them right here. I have the CDs in my hand. One's air and earth, and one's fire and water.
Yeah, no, and I think what they did, if I'm not mistaken, I could be totally off about this, I don't recall clearly, but I believe each band member took on an element or something, and they brought that perspective or something to the table for their songwriting. So I know it was a purely creative process for them, and they have that artsy fartsy mindset that a lot of us in Orange County seem to have. So
Right.
So yeah, I think that was just there. It wasn't necessarily anything about.
It wasn't an esoteric
No,
hidden
not
thing.
Yeah, not in a sense of any kind of underlying thing. Maybe within the art, but nothing, nothing sinister, at least on the surface anyway, or at least, to my understanding. I don't think there was anything. I've had lunch with Tepe, super cool guy. I mean, super nice guy. And I think he's making purses or something now. He's got his own line of leather making products out in Seattle. So yeah, I think I don't know if they ended Thrice, but I know that they pretty much, sort of put it on pause for now.
Yeah.
To move on with their lives a little bit. I think it was a tough year for those guys the last couple of years. I think their death of their parents, one of their parents passed away. And so yeah, I don't know exactly, but I know that's not like, I don't think they were trying to be like, oh, let's be this secret thing.
Well, here's my question then. Because I'll go back once again, because obviously we kind of come from similar backgrounds with our music. Maybe not everything. You were more into the metal. I was more into the punk and I don't know. I was into all kinds of stuff, to be honest. You were probably into a lot of different stuff too. But
yeah.
Coming up, like with Mike Park, for instance, and this is somebody I'd like to talk to at some point, because he's been really rad. He actually helped me out, got a Rainbow Records discount for me. And pressed our 7-inches with Dr. Manhattan, just on good faith that I would pay him back for it using his discount.
Oh, cool.
So, I mean, he's a really cool dude. But he also claims to be a Christian as well. And he's a Unitarian pastor, which I don't think really jives at all.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
On the same lines as Thrice with the Alchemy Index thing, they may be Christian. I don't know. I don't know how to judge that. I don't know how far it goes or how deep it goes. All the other New Age integration with the church, etc.
Yeah, it's tough because even Mark Driscoll's views, like even though he's kind of like one of the big Christian pastor churches out here in America, I don't agree with everything Mark Driscoll says. So
no.
But they are more towards the sort of fundamental aspects of Christianity, and I know at least at the core that their values and stuff are similar or the same, or the key tenets, if you will. But yeah, I mean, I think it's tough. Also and that's why Dustin Kensrue was someone that I would love to interview, because I know he came across these things, and I know it was a partial struggle for him because I don't think everyone in the band is Christian. I think either it's just him or either him and the bass player and the drummer are brothers. Which, that doesn't mean that they're, that they share the same spiritual values. But, I would like to know, because someone in the music industry, especially, someone like Thrice could have been way bigger than they were. They tried to stay kind of low key indie. They didn't want to go super big.
Well, yeah.
Because I
mean, the way they started, their story is so great. I have their DVD with that EP that came out.
Yeah.
And I love that documentary. I thought that was really well put together. It was kind of lo-fi on a lot of the old footage and everything. But, I mean, they came up right around, like, 2000. They were touring with, like, Sam I Am.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, like, DIY,
Yeah, I know. Yeah. No,
that's awesome.
I remember those days.
To be on, I remember they were doing the Plea for Peace tour and Take Action tour and all that stuff before this whole, like, Screamo thing kind of joined up forces with punk,
Right.
And that got totally beaten to death.
I know. Trust me, we were my band was Screamo, so I know.
I find it interesting that you were a swimmer and we're about the same age, and also coming from the music angle, it's kind of cool. So
yeah, it's awesome, man. I'm glad to have met you guys, and I think it's cool that there's other people coming up and trying to do the radio thing and podcasting and stuff. I think it's a great opportunity right now to flood the so-called airwaves with the gospel, because I mean, we know that the internet and stuff is not for, there's a lot of filth out there. So I think it's good to flush it out with some gospel every once in a while.
Just on the music tip, how has your walk changed the music you listen to and how you listen to it?
Oh boy. Yeah. That's one of the things I wanted to bring up in the worship episode, if we ever get to it. But, when I first became a believer, I had a really hard time with it, because my whole thing with music and creating, songs and art and all this stuff, it was all predicated on the concept of my anger, like my rage, that like whatever rage that I had that was within me. And I had anger issues and stuff. And that was my outlet. Writing music was a way to channel out my frustrations and fears and anger and all this stuff. So when that went away, it was like, I really don't have any right to be angry. Like I have no reason to be angry at that level. I had to work on my temper a little bit and stuff like that. But as far as like core spiritual, I didn't have that same rage. So I was like, oh man, I can't listen to like the music that I used to listen to in the same way. It completely changed my perspective on music. So it was really hard for me to get to let go of some of that stuff because, I was and I still am an ardent fan of music, the creative, the art, all that stuff. So it was hard for me to like listen to metal anymore. Like I really can't get into metal at all. I was listening to like bands like Unearth and Children of Bodom. And, I loved all the sweep picking and all the crazy fast, metal stuff.
Are you a lead guitarist?
Yeah. I'm
Dude, I'm a rhythm guitarist and a singer, and I'm not a lead, but man, I think it's amazing. I never learned my scales, Yeah,
no, I'm all self-taught, and what's interesting is I wanted to be, because I was a singer for my band too, just because we couldn't find a singer. But I was super into like kind of the quasi prog rock kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Like, do you mean like, are you going like Dream Theater, or are you talking about like Coheed, like kind of influence?
Dude, you have no idea how big of a fan of Coheed and Cambria I was. Like ridiculous.
I saw them at the Fireside Bowl back in, I think 2001 or 2 with Finch.
Oh, Finch. I remember them too.
I was on a bicycle tour I had mentioned in our email.
Yeah.
Randy from Finch was on that bike tour. He was sharing a tent with me and Steve Choi from RX Bandits. But I really enjoyed the last Finch album a lot. The one that didn't get any play.
Oh, dude, I really haven't. And the only Finch album that I remember was that first one with
What It Is to Burn.
What It Is to Burn. Yeah, all that stuff. That was a good song. But I was a huge Coheed fan. I loved all their songs and all their albums. The most recent one I haven't really checked out, but yeah, I mean, I it was hard for me, and I'm still having a hard time listening to that stuff because it's like I just know spiritually it doesn't jive.
Yeah.
But here was my issue. I couldn't stand worship music.
Me neither.
Hated it, and I was surrounded with guys all of a sudden at church that were like. Because our church, was kind of the modern, contemporary corporate worship style church. So all of a sudden I'm around, I went from my Flying V with EMG 81s and a Mesa Boogie triple rectifier, and all of a sudden I'm around guys that play like the Telecaster, and they have these like, what are they called? Boutique pedals, right? And, really...
And every song sounds like a U2 ambient song.
Yes, exactly. Everybody
it's ridiculous.
Has 50 pedals, and everybody has these like emo sounding, well, not emo in the same sense that we would say.
Just
emo,
really generic.
Very generic. Yeah, and they were super into it, and they're into tone and all this stuff, which is fine. I'm into tone too, but I couldn't buy into it, man. I had a really hard time of buying into it, and the only worship band that I can really enjoy and listen to is Hillsong United. I think some of their songs are really good and stuff. But even then, it's like it's a phase thing, It's like I'll go through.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, this album and a few of these songs that are staple songs in the church, great. But then afterwards, it kind of dies out. But recently I've been listening to, and this is just from my daughter. We've been listening to a station called Air One. Do you guys know Air One?
No.
I've heard of it.
It's the positive alternative, and oh man, you should hear some of these songs. It's like if Britney Spears and Katy Perry and
oh no,
yeah, if they became Christians and started singing and rapping and doing all that stuff.
Okay,
it's quite interesting. and we sit there and make fun of it all the time, but at least they're trying, they're trying to be positive, and they talk about God and Jesus and stuff, so I guess it's okay. But at the same time I'm going,